with my Zoom and a window popped.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming to the PTAC meeting. I'm going to call the meeting to order at 7:02. We have, hopefully you all got the agenda and the minutes. And so the first thing I'd like to do is make a motion to accept the minutes as they were presented. Any second to that? Katie, thank you. Anybody need to make any changes or have any questions or adjustments for the meeting from September, actually? Okay, seeing none, we're going to accept the minutes as proposed, and we'll get right into it and invite the superintendent, Mike Cummings, to speak to us.
Good evening, everyone. As always, I appreciate the opportunity to meet with everybody tonight. I apologize for some reason the video is not working on the computer tonight, but I hope everyone can hear me. Couple things that I want to talk about, really more the long term, and then we could talk about short term concerns if there's anything, but essentially a couple long term. First, on Wednesday night, the Board of Ed is meeting. It's a Wednesday meeting this week. This was not on the original board calendar, but we requested this meeting as we've already begun the budget process for the 22-23 school year. This is a new step that we've instituted this year. It's an attempt to begin engaging in dialogue around the larger initiatives, the more, I would say, in some ways, creative initiatives that a budget might include. We've essentially taken the ideas that the administrators from their teachers have drafted. We've put those ideas together. The administrators met the last weekend in October. They basically went through the entire list of initiatives and they've prioritized those. I then took those, tried to build some themes out of it. And then I also tied those to the, right now, the draft district improvement plan, the next iteration of the district improvement plan goals, which were shared at the last board meeting as well. And so on Wednesday night, we're going to talk at a relatively high level about what some of those issues are. Again, tied to the goals. But again, what I would say is you'll see concerns in there about how we provide interventions, the supports we're going to be able to give students, and this is across all levels. Also, then how does that connect to both the SEL work that we want to be able to do this year and in the years to come, as well as the DEI work that we've begun to engage in. So there's these individual budget initiatives don't necessarily fit into neat little buckets. They really extend across all the goals, but we'll be providing some more information on this Wednesday night. I've invited the administrators to be there as well. So if the board has questions about specific topics, the administrators can address these. Going forward, the idea would be that we take feedback that we get from the board, questions from the board. We go back as we continue to evolve and work through the budget process over the next 5-6 weeks before the Christmas break. And then we'll take that information from the board and bring it back against the larger budget pieces to present to the board and to the town in public and in January. So that's really the first step on Wednesday night. And then as I mentioned, the district improvement plan committee, in my last communication in our November news to the community, we shared that the committee is beginning to work. They're working on the 4 draft goals. They're going to have a initial draft plan to be ready by the holiday break. We'll spend some time in January refining that and bring it forward, first draft of that plan to the board for consideration in February. Again, this is just a board feedback at that point. It's really important to point out that the plan now, this initial plan, is again a high level plan. The work that goes on in the spring will be to take feedback that we get not only from the board, but we're going to put it out for community feedback, teacher feedback, staff feedback in February and March. But we'll be further refining that part of the plan, but then we'll be moving to for 22-23 start to institute the actual action steps we want to make happen during the next school year to make the plan come to life. So that's the that's where we currently are with those things. Short term, I would say that things are going pretty well in the school system right now. Thank goodness. We're kind of a little concerned about health data. I will be honest with you. Things have seemed to be popping a little bit, but you know, the mitigation strategies in place and the great response the community has given to the vaccinations is very encouraging. So we're hopeful, very hopeful that everything will continue as is, and we can move into a healthy holiday season over the next 5-6 weeks. So I don't know if there's any questions I can answer tonight.
Thank you, Mike. Yes, go ahead, Mary.
Sorry. I don't hear anything about climate change or sustainability or anything related to that in anything you discussed and related to COP and everything that's been going on. I'm curious how that feeds into your district improvement or plan or any of the plans that you're talking about. I think that's really important. And I hear a lot about that from the kids that I work with. How's that feed into all that?
That hasn't emerged yet, Mary, as a particular issue, a specific goal. I will tell you, one of the things the District Improvement Planning Committee is very focused on is a tight district improvement plan. Part of it was part of their initial work was looking at the past 5-6 years of district improvement plans and recognizing that those plans were very broad. They did not, they would have benefited from a tighter focus from the very beginning. So the committee is keeping that in mind as they move forward. There was conversation in September at one of our meetings about how that issue of sustainability in green schools might come to light in one of the 4 goals. But that's now the work going forward. So it doesn't exist as a separate goal. It may come forward in one of the other goal areas, but again, that's the work that the smaller groups are beginning to work on now. And then again, as it goes back out to the community for feedback, there'll be other opportunity for people to weigh in on those issues.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Katie.
I just wanted to do a little bit of a quick plug. After Mike recommended setting up a meeting with our principals about budgets, I was able to do so, and I found it incredibly helpful on kind of a micro level to really get a gauge of what our building was looking at and the needs and the specificities. So I would highly recommend, if you haven't already met with your principal, to go ahead and do so. I found it very, very, very helpful. So thank you for the recommendation, Mike.
It's really crucial because we could talk, you know, a broad level at the district. But as you know, when we're assembling that budget and we're getting up to close to $200 million, a lot of really important ideas don't necessarily come forward, but they remain as needs at the building level. And, you know, in the PTA's role and interest of advocacy for those things, I think having that communication at the building level is critical to us moving forward. And as I say to the principal all the time, just because it doesn't come forward this year doesn't mean it's not gaining momentum and comes forward in the future. And some of the best ideas take a few years to really flower.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mike? Okay, Mike, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Will you be sticking around, or you're?
I will be right here.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Okay, next up is Christine, Board of Education report.
Hi, everybody. I guess my first piece of news is that Tricia Pitko resigned from the Board of Education last week. She's moving forward with her career. So while the board will be missing her, future students will be benefiting from her expertise. She's going for her special education certification right now, and just spending some more time with her family. Her daughter's gotten older since she first joined the board and just made the very hard decision just to move on at this point. We're going to miss her. You know, Tricia's a friend. I thank her for her advocacy for all of our children and her commitment to our community, and really do wish her luck on her future endeavors. So if you see her, say congratulations, and you'll see her around, I'm sure, probably more in PTAs now that she has a little bit more free time on her hands. This afternoon, the Board of Selectmen appointed Chrissy Kelly to fill Trisha's spot on the board. Chrissy, I spoke to her this morning. She's going to get sworn in, hopefully tomorrow, and will be able to participate in the board's Wednesday budget meeting. The next big thing, we have a meeting at the end of November, excuse me. And then we are planning our town hall on December 8th at Fairfield Woods Middle School. It will begin at 8 p.m. And the topic will be the facilities, finances, and programs of the Fairfield Public Schools. This is an opportunity for parents, the community at large, to just engage in the board. And it's a nice opportunity for us to have a two-way dialogue. Those of you that have been to our meetings know that public comment at our meetings is really one way. The public gives comment and the board doesn't respond. Our town hall is an opportunity for us to have a discussion. So we're looking forward to that. Right now, Board of Finance member Chris DeWitt is going to be our moderator. So all board members will be able to participate equally. So I'm looking forward to not having to chair that meeting, just to be able to talk with you all. And then we're just going to get gearing up for budget season in January and hearing about the district improvement plan. There's a lot going on in our schools. The high school plays are starting next weekend. So if you're looking for something to do, I would recommend those, as well as some of our sporting teams are moving forward with championship games. So I'm happy to take any questions.
Hi, sorry, what was the date of that town hall and the time?
It's December 8th at 8 p.m. at Fairfield Woods Middle School, and more information will be going out. We just finalized some of the details over the last few days in terms of the moderator. And that will be broadcast on Fair TV as well.
Christine, will you be our permanent liaison to the Board of Education, or will somebody else be taking?
I don't know. I would love to be with you guys.
Well, you're more than welcome.
But I'll put it out there. Our organizational meeting is at the end of the month also, before our regular meeting. And that meeting there'll be a change of officers potentially. So that is also occurring. And at that point, the new chair will be potentially reassigning the board's committee liaisons. Some people might stay the same, but there might be some changes. So the chair will put it out there to see if anybody wants to volunteer for PTAC or SEPTA, kind of give everybody an equal spot if they want, get to know the different organizations rather than just being with the same group year after year. But I'm hoping I'll be back next month.
Good, awesome. Yes, Hannah.
What is the theme of the town hall? Is it sort of open-ended questions, or?
It is open-ended: finances, programs, facilities. We just don't discuss personnel issues at the town hall.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Christine? Okay, Christine, well, thank you very much. I know you have another meeting, but you're welcome to stay as long as you'd like.
Okay, I'm gonna hang out for a while. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Okay, next is Katie. She's going to give the president's report today.
Hi, everybody. So I just want to start off with a really big thank you for everyone who was able to make our first roundtable retreat in October. It feels like it was a day ago and like 10 months ago. I was looking at my notes yesterday. I was like, time is just kind of flying. But I know I appreciated, and Steve, the commitment to sit in a room with people for that extended amount of time. You really start to hit topics that you don't necessarily get in a half-hour, 45-minute meeting. So first off, we really appreciated all of your time and energy to be there. But just, I did want to kind of just wrap up for everybody, and in our general meeting, a little bit of a takeaway of what I found at the meeting. And obviously I would love to hear any input from all of you. Some of the main things that I took away were a need for more consistent communication and meetings for both our PTAC reps and our presidents. So basically more town halls, more times to brainstorm, more times to work, rather than our monthly meetings, which are times to catch up and give updates, but we really can't do the work that needs to be done in this forum or this time period. So really focusing in on making sure those are incorporated into our calendar and our plan as a PTA council. Secondly was a big need for some kind of centralized communication. I think we already have some pieces of that in place. There's currently a PTA leaders page on Facebook, which will continue to be utilized by the PTA council, possibly with a name change. We're still kind of working on that. But even further than that, and as much as we all love social media, I think we've all kind of seen the things that it works well for. And I think dialogue is one of them, and the things that it doesn't necessarily work well for, which I kind of found document sharing to be really difficult. And we made a decision that we need some kind of Google Drive or document. So as I said, we're still kind of working on what email. We always say that, you know, we kind of are losing programs with people, that as you can kind of track where people are in school, you know, who's really working on Fairfield Cares, or who's really working on grants, or who's really, you can kind of see it in the landscape. So we wanted to just create a place where those documents can kind of live even as we leave. So for our elementary school parents, for our middle school. So if anyone has any input or thoughts on that process, I'm kind of working between, I have a Google Drive going, seeing what that looks like, and also a Dropbox kind of situation that doesn't associate with an email. So if anyone has any thoughts or feedback, I am more than happy to hear, or if you want to reach out to me by email. And then lastly, a main driver seemed to be the need for sharing resources, sharing costs, sharing things like that. I think we all know as PTA leaders that the last 18 months, 2 years has really had an effect on our volunteerism, our budget, all of the things. So we kind of identified a few areas we thought it would be possible to continue collaborating and sharing resources. Just to throw out to the general meeting, what I've heard feedback wise was one book, one school, which we've already kind of started playing around with on the elementary school level. Author visits, kind of similar to our high schools that share presentations. If we can expand that down to our elementary and middle schools already did successfully. Sally Connolly organized an author visit between all 3 middle schools, which went, I heard, stunningly. So I think that really is a model for how we can further use what we're all spending. I think, you know, those are big ticket items. And if we can help take a little bit of the cost off of our schools and our PTAs, I think it'll be helpful. And then lastly, more representative reports. So having 1 main or 2 main people communicating BOE, SEPTA, and of course our community partners that we're always bringing into the fold. So that's kind of a general overview of the retreat, especially for people that were not able to be there. So I don't know if anyone has any questions on that first little overview.
Oh, is there anybody there that wanted to comment? Yeah, go ahead, Jamie. Did you have your hand up? I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry, I apologize. There's a lot of barking and screaming in the background.
I get it.
Just a couple of questions.
Yeah.
For author visits, I'm sorry.
No worries.
Are schools bringing back author visits at the elementary school level?
So our direction, and I don't know if Mr. Cummings can hop onto this, is that we were planning most of our things for the springtime.
Okay.
In the hopes that assemblies and things like that will be more possible. I don't know if any elementary school has run an assembly. I know that North Stratfield has not, but I know that our high school and middle schools have. So I would be under the impression that that consistency would flow down. I just wouldn't be positive the implementation unless any other school has already done it, but I can't speak from experience on that.
If you want, I'll just jump in. I think
That would be awesome.
Yep. What you want to be able to do with these is, first of all, I think it's a conversation with the building principal always to figure out how it can be done. Given some of the time limitations around authors visit, I mean, let me take one step back. I'm sorry. So much is going to depend obviously on the space, right? And in best of times, it's what depends on the space. So the principal has to make determinations with our support and guidance around the distancing and those types of things. Sometimes that runs up against the length of time an author can stay in a school. So if an event is extended because now you have to do multiple sittings, for example, in the APR or something, that could potentially impact it. But I definitely pursue a conversation with the building administrators around the plan, how it can be done, and we're willing and happy to work with any one of them to try to facilitate get these done as much as possible.
And just speaking informally, kind of in the research for One Book, One School and just assemblies in general, we reached out to a few authors and one kind of SEL speaker situation. And the feedback we got was that the more schools that sign on, the more reduced our costs are and the more time they're going to give us. So if we were able to book 6 schools, all of a sudden you have an author here who would be willing to stay for a week or stay for, I think the combinedness, I think, helps in negotiating, as Mike said, the need for possibly more sessions especially for the elementary level. And then
Anybody
we had,
else?
Aaron just
Okay.
wrote, how many PTAs were able to send reps, and being in the morning during a work week was difficult for our PTA. And I can't tell you how much that feedback weighed on my mind. And I know Steve and I discussed it. We highlighted it at the meeting. The main driver between the picking of the day is that it's just hard to get the BOE facilities in the evenings. So I think in the future, what we'd be more flexible to doing would be maybe grabbing an alternative space, but I'm going to talk about this in a minute. We're hoping to do another roundtable in January, and that is going to be in the evening. So it'll start a little bit earlier. So I think I think all PTAs kind of struggle with this too. I was talking to another PTA president who said their meetings were exclusively during the day. And I was like, what? Our meetings are all exclusively at night. So like, I think we're all kind of figuring out like this inclusivity piece and how we can implement it for all our meetings. But it definitely weighed on me very much that we couldn't have everybody that wanted to attend be able to. Anybody else?
Thank you.
No, thank you, Erin.
Yeah, we also discussed, like Katie said, using a different space, maybe making it an event even,
Yeah.
And also maybe having themes for some of them, because I think we want to use perhaps one of these roundtables in the spring to highlight our community partners.
Yeah.
So people like Fairfield Cares and Sustainable Fairfield and Operation Hope, Mill River, all those people get a chance to answer your questions and give you, well, most of them would like to thank you. Actually, that's what they all tell me they want to, first and foremost, they want to thank you for what you do. And so, yeah, we're also looking for any ideas too. That's one thing that we learned from our first roundtable was, getting people together and sharing ideas just really help move things along a lot quicker than business meetings can.
Yeah, or even emails. There's something to be said for sitting in a room and seeing the faces of the people you're doing the same work with, across the table. So I found it so valuable personally. So as Steve said, we're going to be setting up 2 more roundtables. So our January meeting will be a roundtable, whether it's on our meeting date, we're not sure yet, to focus on budget and committees. So kind of the things we had discussed before, centralized communication, speaking, shared events, things to that accord. And then our March meeting focusing on our community partners. So Fairfield Cares, Mill River, Operation Hope. I mean, the list really goes on and on, how lucky we are to have so many community partners, our Sustainable Task Force. I mean, I have a whole list here that it's really quite incredible how much support our PTAs and our school system have from our community partners. So, the middle school author visit was virtual. Thank you, Hannah. So I can't think of, I know that the high schools have had assembly type situations. So I think it's something to watch and keep planning. As I said, our principal was very receptive to the planning process for the spring. So I found that to be hopeful. I think we're all hopeful. But that was my update. So if anyone has any questions or concerns or things that they are hoping we can help with, please take the opportunity, or as always, type in the chat or shoot me an email.
So obviously this is an organic situation. So we did send out a calendar at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
But please watch your email because those dates may be changing. Jamie.
All right, I had another question, just touching upon the Facebook page.
Yep.
So this is a debate we're having at Riverfields because we do have an unofficial Riverfield, Parents of Riverfield Facebook page, which is not managed by our PTA, but by a volunteer parent who's moving on pretty soon. This is her last year at the school, and we're sort of having a debate whether the PTA, like, is there any policy around managing Facebook pages? I think one of the concerns that some board members from our PTA have is that not everybody uses social media. And while it's sort of it's a faster means of communication and just a faster means of communication out to the community. The concern is that, yeah, not everybody uses it, and it's not fair for some people to see information prior to other folks. And we do have a work around that. But I just wanted to get a sense, like, what the different are the different schools actively using Facebook for parents group pages?
I mean, I can I can speak for North Stratfield. Our PTA page has always been run by our PTA. It's a private Facebook group.
Okay.
It is archived yearly, so it only is active members of our community. So that means every spring we go through and remove every parent that moves on. So it's just for our community. I'm trying to think what our policies and rules are. So I know it's different. So for instance, I know that some schools allow children's pictures on their Facebook pages. We do not.
Okay.
We never have. There's no staff discussions allowed on our page. So like, no, and like I said, I can send you the rules. I can think that most of our PTA, at least at the elementary level, have Facebook pages. How active they are and who manages them, I'm not honestly too sure. I don't know if there's any policies though, Steve, from CTPTA.
No, I don't believe there is. And the ones that I've been associated with, the PTA pages were usually used mainly for announcements or to get messages across, and it really wasn't a forum type, but then there was always a parents page that accompanied it, so that each school would have two pages, one official PTA page and one community page that and each had their own rules. But it's, yeah, I think for us using the, it's a closed group that we have now, or that you have at the parents of.
Yeah, it's PTA leaders of.
PTA leaders.
Yeah, we start, my two past presidents started that last year. And just wanted a place for PTA presidents to kind of coalesce and be able to communicate. Like I said, I think every school kind of utilizes their Facebook differently. Like you said, we don't use it for general communication. We use it for, like I said, like the lunch menu gets posted there, like things that you kind of want to be able to see quickly. Like we'll post if we do, I'm trying to think, like when we decorated for Halloween or the first day of school, we post pictures of that on there. Like it's more, I would say it's more like a quick shot of what's going on at school, not like our general communication. I don't know if that helps at all.
But it would be, the one that once we change that over a little bit more towards PTA council, I believe it'll be just a place to start conversations or just to ask questions. Hey, is anybody else doing this kind of thing? Yes, Hannah.
Speak for Tomlinson's Facebook page. It is run by the PTA, though anyone can comment on it. Like, for example, I often make announcements on there based on what I've learned from PTAC or from, other teachers or administrators at the school. I do believe the presidents, own the page, and they do the same thing. They go through at the end of the year and remove, graduating families from it. And it seems to be, it's mainly announcements, I would say, reminders. Tomlinson does do, the principal's very fond of Twitter, so he announces a lot of stuff on there. And there is he does like a weekly message as well, sort of like a peek, what does he call it? Peek at the week. And then there's an email you get every Sunday that kind of that's from the PTA that kind of highlights things that are going on as well. And parents do, from time to time post questions like, oh my God, when is, picture retake day? Have I missed it? That kind of stuff. It stays pretty neutral and, polite. So we've been lucky, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I would say having good admins is important. I think keeping it to PTA, I know we always have it, some pretty trusted people of our executive board. And like Hannah said, it's not really a forum for, discussing. I had heard years, way before my oldest was in kindergarten, that at some point there were like sleepover discussion, like very off topic things happening on Facebook pages. I don't really see that, or I haven't heard of that, but I could be wrong. And in the comments, you can check, Jamie. I'm reading now, like Sherman, RLMS have active Facebook pages, private and community. I know a lot of schools have Twitter pages. So I think it would be maybe talking to your executive board and maybe your principal about the culture at your school and what you think fits best. Because it's going to be different for I think every school is going to be different in what they need in terms of communication. But the Facebook page we love. It's a nice place to see happy pictures and, Friday, we post our Friday flash there. So I think it's easier for some parents to have that double dose of communication. So we find it helpful.
I just looked, like Tomlinson's it's the Tomlinson Middle School PTA Facebook page, and it's got almost 400 members, and the school communities, I think 5 something total. So, surprisingly, a lot of people at some point are looking at it. So in the school's case, it's helpful to have.
Thanks. Ronnie, did you want to comment about Ward's Facebook page about not having to be a member of Facebook I think that's.
Yeah, so Ward's page it's a public page. It's not a group that requires membership. And that was years ago. We made, like 2016, we made that decision to keep it purely as an informational channel. And the information is only publicly available. There is no discussion really encouraged on the page. Sometimes people send in a private message with a question like, picture retake day or finding some information. But we wanted to keep any kind of contrary or kind of fruitless discussions off that page, because it's better when it happens in a personal meeting. So we've been very lucky. The page has, people have been very respectful, and people can comment on posts, but I have really, in all the years that I managed it, and this is the first time in 5 years that I have not seen any kind of disrespectful behavior on the page. And with a school that has, 1,400 kids and very few volunteer people available, we've been actually amazed how well it's been working. There's also an Instagram page and a Twitter page that, again, is all purely for publicly available informational purposes. So we do not share anything that would be somebody's private information.
Ronnie, you guys have a TikTok too. Only because my kids love it.
I know, I'm looking for some kids who would like to do a TikTok channel for Fairfield Cares, because I'm running out of bandwidth.
No, it's my 9-year-old's favorite. He's like, is there an update? I'm like, I don't think so. Ask Mr. Kavana.
Yeah.
Mary, did you have a question? No? Oh, I just wasn't sure. I thought you posted something in the chat that maybe some people can't see.
I did. I asked a question in the chat about the the district improvement plan. I couldn't find anything about it on the website or where to submit comments.
Oh, I see. I don't know. Can anybody help Mary on that?
Mary, it's in the November news. My letter speaks to it. The actual full letter is in the board agenda, but nothing's open yet for comments. That won't be happening until after the first of the year at some point.
That's really hard to, that makes it really hard to get to.
Well, the goals are there and this is what we're working on. So until the committee has completed its work, the committee's been open and conducting its business since last May. So it's going to be available for people to give feedback on come late winter, early spring.
Thanks. Thank you, Mike. There also one thing that we didn't mention is we do have website space on the Fairfield Public Schools on the district's website.
Oh, yes.
That we're going to be developing, and we'll be coming to you for ideas of what you think should be included on that. It'll probably be mostly a static page unless we really find somebody. The problem is we find somebody who really gets into it, and then they age out of the system, and then it just sits there dormant with something that happened 2 years ago. So, we probably would want to keep it to something with some basic information, PTA, that be updated at least once a year, for contact information, calendars, that kind of stuff. But if you have any other ideas too, we'd like to hear those as well.
Mary, I'm going to try and find it and post it in the comments. I'm looking right now.
Katie, anything else?
I think that's it.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. So just keep an eye out for our next meeting. We're probably not going to have one in December, correct, Katie? But if an event comes up that we will have one, we'll let you know.
Yes, working on it.
Okay. Jennifer Elwood, Equity Committee.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, good. Hello, so my DEI update, kind of a bunch to talk about. Our new director of DEI, Digna Marte, started on November 1st. She has already had the chance to make a bunch of connections with student groups around the district, including the Beloved community, which is our middle school group, and the Ward Unity Coalition. I've had the chance to talk with her a couple of times. She's got a lot on her plate, but I'm really excited for what she's going to bring to the district. Her experience and just overall approach, I think, is going to be a really good fit. So it's exciting. The Ward Unity Coalition, if you haven't heard about it, it is a group of staff and students that were formed last spring to begin focusing on how to make operational changes at Ward to better the environment for all students. The goal that they're working on is, or sort of their phrasing is, this work is about hearts. Our focus is that each individual can and will be treated with dignity and respect. And so the first project that they have going on this year is working with the Anti-Defamation League, the ADL, to do their No Place for Hate program. And what's cool about this program is that it's actually a certification that schools have to redo every year. And the way you become certified is through 4 all school events where I think it's like 95% of the student body has to engage, and they have to be approved by the ADL, and they're all focused on some type of inclusion or specific issue that's happening at your school. So the first big event that they had was through the social studies department. They had a series of assemblies in the library that kind of hit the whole school to roll out the program. They all signed their pledge to participate this year. And now coming up at the end of this month will be our first round of assemblies for the Names Can Really Hurt Us program. It's entirely student run. The staff is really there just to support what's happening with our kids. It's very, they're really putting themselves out there. It's a really vulnerable moment. We have a group of, I think, 8 students who are going to be up on stage sharing their stories, either about a time they were a victim, a perpetrator, a bystander, or an ally in a moment of hate. And then there will be an open mic opportunity for anybody in the auditorium to come up and share as well. After that, there will be breakout rooms. It's a 60-minute session hosted by a student, supported by a staff member. And there'll be, I think, 25 kids in each room for that hour. And then we come back and do some kind of processing all together. Each breakout group will read aloud their next steps. All of those things will come together. The Unity Coalition will continue to work on that throughout the year. So it's actually really exciting. I'm looking forward to it. We're starting off with the sophomores on the 30th, and then the juniors on the 2nd, and then we'll do freshmen and seniors after Christmas or after winter break. Yes, the Unity Coalition is in addition to Voices for Equity. So the Unity Coalition is really anyone in the school can be involved, but the idea is that it's a community of representatives from all around the school. So while you currently have groups like the Gay Straight Alliance or Voices for Equity or the American Asian Pacific Islanders group, or all of those things that are focused kind of on specific areas, members of all of those groups are a part of the Unity Coalition. So it's kind of a larger umbrella for the school. And then, the last 2 other cool things. One, the Teachers Union Anti-Racism Committee hosted an inclusive event with First Church a week and a half ago on a Saturday. It was fantastic. There were student speakers, they had activities and games set up for kids. It was just a really fun opportunity for joy and connection. And I would say probably more than 100 people came. It was really great to get together and just spend some time together. The last thing is, last week I was contacted by the Friends of Team Westport, specifically 2 parents who are on the Westport DEI, PTA DEI committee. They wanted to kind of hear about what has been happening in Fairfield and get together and work on some initiatives together. So I wasn't aware of Team Westport. In case you're not either, Team Westport is actually a town elected body. They've been together or appointed repeatedly for the last 17 years, focusing on diversity, equity, and inclusion measures in their town. They meet once a month, and their next meeting is on Thursday morning. So they've invited me and Digna Marte to attend. Hopefully we'll both be able to. What I thought was really interesting about their monthly meetings is that it's the Team Westport committee, but then it's also all town leaders, members from town bodies, the superintendent, PTA. It's kind of like, everybody in the community together, which is obviously a model that we are hopefully moving toward. The more we're in a space together, the better our communication and our alliance can become. So I'm excited for that. And I think we're going to learn a lot from them. And I think they're going to learn a lot from us too. So that's all I've got.
Thank you, Jennifer. Are there any questions for Jennifer? Katie.
I'm very anxious to hear more about that Team Westport. I've never heard of that, and what an amazing we kind of keep saying that we're all in these little buckets and doing all this work and it never kind of coalesces. What an amazing thing to hear that's happening right next door. So please keep us updated.
I will. Yeah, it was actually really interesting to talk to them because, there are definitely advantages to having a long-standing, elected larger group, but then there's also advantages to the situation that we are in having, I don't know, just sort of like we're in a different stage and each one of us is accomplishing different things. So yeah, I think it's going to be really enlightening and helpful to bring us all together. We're also having similar communications with the DEI committee in Trumbull. And, hopefully we'll be able to just kind of grab all the towns around us and make things happen together.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next, we have Fairfield Cares, and we have Riney and Kathy Haslett here. If you guys would like to share, I don't know who's got the ball on this one.
Kathy, want to go ahead?
Sure, I'll start us off, and then whatever I leave out, just fill in. We've been incredibly busy at Fairfield Cares. For those of you who don't know me, Kathy Haslett, I'm the program director and coalition coordinator for Fairfield Cares Community Coalition. And we have started off with a bang this year. Lots of activities been happening. Speaking of school assemblies, there was Will Trutline of the Will to Live Foundation who gave an assembly earlier in November at Ludlow High School and then over at Ward, and then also did a presentation at Greenfield Hill Congregational Church that evening to parents. And the auditoriums were filled in both high school presentations, and I think the Congregational Church was at maximum capacity. So we had a really good turnout for that. For those of you who are not familiar, Will lost his son to suicide, and as he would say, he would be the last kid you would ever suspect to have been so in such pain. And he, as a father, had no idea. So it was a really good opportunity to have some very intense conversations with other parents on this. Then the following week, another school assembly with Michael De Leon of Steered Straight, oh my goodness, came and gave a total of 7 presentations in one day, focusing on the prevention, dangers, risks of alcohol, nicotine, and marijuana use, including vaping. He spoke to all grades over at Ludlow High School separately, then went up to Walter Fitzgerald and gave a presentation there, and had some one-on-one time with the students there. All the adults left the room, so he was able to engage in conversation with a smaller group of students. Went back to Ludlow and presented to teachers after school and to parents that night. So we kept him busy. He'll be back, as I understand it, in March to present at Ward. And we're also wanting him, he's available to speak at middle schools as well. And he's the type that, it's a flat fee for the day kind of a thing. And so we want to utilize him as much as possible. And he really wants to visit every school in Connecticut. He has lived experience. He was incarcerated. He has made several documentaries. So he was very engaging. There wasn't one student who was fidgeting while he was speaking. So he was giving a terrific message. We're also engaging with interactive educational theater, and you may be familiar with them. Maggie actually has a son, I believe, who is a junior at Ward and had a son who graduated last year from Ward. And so she and her troupe will be presenting at Walter Fitzgerald on December 1st. And then we have some programs also scheduled for the Boys and Girls Club. We're going to do a yoga and stress reduction session with Laura Lanham on December 7th. I'm going to be doing some QPR trainings. QPR is a suicide prevention session that this particular session will be geared towards students, so a little different than the adult session. And then coming up, we're going to be doing on underage drinking, alcohol prevention. Alcohol is our #1 substance that youth are misusing in our community. So it's really important that we put information out there about the dangers of binge drinking and underage drinking in general. We have designed, thank you, Riney, these wonderful liquor locks, we're calling them, and several coalitions have used a similar idea. These will be available at the package stores in partnership with the 12 package stores in Fairfield. There'll be stickers at the counters that parents, adults can help themselves. Take it's a page, if you will, of 7 stickers that you just simply put over the tops of the bottles. And we have a message on there. Let's mention prevention. Let's keep our kids safe. And it's really just so minors don't help themselves to their parents' liquor. And it's also an opportunity to have conversations with children about underage drinking. Probably the other activity that we've got to start organizing is doing some kind of a community forum around the new Connecticut cannabis law, so everyone understands what's in the law, what's not in the law, what's allowed, what's not allowed. So we want to be a resource to parents in the community about the new cannabis law. And we'll have more information on that on our website. We are updating the website too. We're working with students from Fairfield University to provide us with a new look. So we're excited about that. That's a really nice partnership that we have, and it's all free. So that may be something that the PTA council or individual PTAs want to consider at some point as well. Couple of things that I would love your input on is Riney and I actually received emails from 2 professors from Yale who are interested in providing information to communities, to parents on eating disorders and social media. And didn't know if these were topics that were of interest to all of you. They could speak to whatever grade level you need them to speak to. I'm hearing that as a result of the pandemic, eating disorders is something that is being noticed a bit more. So if that would be helpful to know. And this too, I believe would be a free, there's no cost involved in bringing the professors. I honestly don't know if this would be a virtual presentation or something that could be done in person, maybe a combination of both. But I just want to know if either topic is of interest to any of you, and we can just explore from there.
Yes, thank you. I probably would like to get that information. We can send that out to our PTAs and see what kind of response we get. I know, firsthand, I've got a niece right now in an institution with a feeding tube in her nose. And as you know, last year she was accepted and planning on going to Northeastern. So it's she went from somebody who was an A student and into this pandemic and came out, totally in a loss of control. So that's it's really a really important and timely thing. Yes, Katie.
I just wanted to let everyone know that Riney and Mary and myself, I think we kind of over posted, but the Will to Live presentation, I didn't get a chance to attend live, but I did get a chance to watch it, and it's pretty impactful if you have a chance to go on the YouTube page. But Catherine and I had a quick chance to talk about this at the retreat, and it's something I definitely want to explore more, is getting Fairfield Cares down into our elementary schools. I think the pandemic really kind of shone a big flashlight on our younger kids and the struggles they're going with. And I think it's kind of an under-supported community that leads, I think, to the programs that you're doing at the high school. So any way we can help or brainstorm, I know it's on the docket. So
Yeah, we would so much appreciate your input. A couple of times I've put out there to, 2 or 3 parents that, the idea of doing a parent survey, and then I never hear anything back. And then I get caught up in the work that the day-to-day stuff. So the interest is there, believe me. And truly, it is so important to start at the elementary school age, because that is prevention, right? We want to get those messages out early and when kids are young, so they grow up knowing, the risks involved and making positive choices. And on that, and I'm sure you're all familiar with this group, but they are looking for more opportunities. Creating lasting family connections is a parenting class that's 5 sessions that is research-based and has received all kinds of awards. This is free, and the group Inspire here in Fairfield organizes that, but we're partnering with them to help promote a wonderful, wonderful parenting. It can be both parent and child, but I think they're wanting to focus on talking to parents, and this could be parents of upper elementary, middle school, or high school, but we would want homogeneous groups of parents. So you wouldn't want to mix, say, middle school parents with high school parents. Because those children are in 2 different life cycles at that point. So that too is something that is out there.
Lauren's going to be coming to our meeting in March.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
Yeah.
And just in general, I just wanted one last plug. We would love more parents involved in the coalition. We want to meet the needs of parents, and so we need that input. So, Riney and I will be attending, and Riney has been attending these meetings. I find these very informative, so I appreciate the opportunity to attend. It's great to hear about all the different programs and committees that are going on.
And lots of interest already, especially at the elementary school level. Sadly, I think, as Steve highlighted, that the eating disorders and issues start very, very, very early, and earlier than many of us would like to think. But I know that many in the elementary school community are actively wanting this work to get done. So I think figuring out that connection piece is something we're going to work on for sure.
Okay, Katie. Well, that would be great. I will get more information about that and connect with you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Just to add a couple of things on the tail end of that, Steve, before we move on. It's also, this week is Transgender Awareness Week, and I posted in the chat a link to a fantastic guide that is especially geared to younger children and parents, and how families and communities can support children. And I also wanted to give a shout out to a group that's run by Fairfield resident Karen Lynch. There is a Go Live Girl in their New Canaan, but Karen Lynch runs a middle school group with them through Fairfield Parks and Rec. And it's all about young girls self-empowerment, and hopefully that reduces things like eating disorders. And then there's also, I think I posted a link to Fairfield Care's upcoming partner events. The Great American Smokeout is on November 18th, and Trisha Dahl is offering a phenomenal presentation for those of us who are still not quite up to date on what's up with all this vaping and what vapes are all about. Highly recommend that. So there's so many things going on. And there's also sadly, not sadly, but there is coming up the International Suicide Survivor Day, which provides an opportunity for survivors of suicide, meaning you've lost a loved one, to come together. And the Connecticut chapter of the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, along with the chapters of Massachusetts and New York, offering a session specifically geared for LGBTQ members. So you find those on our website, but I can probably also share this registration link in the chat here. And what I would love to point out for inclusivity purposes is I've noticed on the, however clunky the Fairfield Town website is, if you scroll all the way to the bottom, there is now a Google Select Language button, I believe, that everybody can access. I don't think it's just my own Chrome setup. But that allows, if we have people who are unfamiliar with English, I've checked the German version because that's the second language I speak, and it's actually quite amazing. So pretty much everything that's on the Fairfield Town website can be translated in whatever kind of language Google offers. So that's a pretty cool thing. Then another thing I would like to kind of bring to people's attention is really not a Fairfield Cares item. It's an item that we've learned from the Fairfield All-State choral directors that were working with the All-State choirs this spring. And it was virtual because of COVID. They produced a video, and it turns out, that the CEMEA, I believe that's the short version, leadership does not want to widely release the video because there is a short stock image of a sign that says Black Lives Matter in it. And there is quite a bit of a discussion between the chairs and the cohort leaders of the All-State Choir. The students worked incredibly hard on it. And so I think the Fairfield Music Parents Association is reaching out to the leadership, as have some individual parents. So if anybody else wants to reach out, or if PTA Council wants to write a letter, that would be obviously very welcome as well. There is a public statement that was put out by the choral directors that I'm kind of looking for right now, because somehow I feel like I've lost it.
Bryony, I'm sorry, can you give me the name of the organization one more time? Connecticut Educate,
yeah,
the Original Music Association, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so that is, I'm gonna look it up because I want to say something.
I could look it up too.
Move on, I'll just share the information
Yep.
in the chat, and we can take it from there.
Yeah,
And
I was able to see it last night, but didn't have time to kind of wrap my arms around the whole thing. So I appreciate it, you bringing it up again.
And it's really a very strange thing why, I really can't understand why they would be so standoffish and not wanting to release this video. And I do know one of the choir directors, Lauren Burney Fink, because my kids have been in choirs for so many years and no longer. And so seeing her signatory under there kind of taught me that this is probably a valuable thing to get ourselves behind, because she's not one to make waves without reason. So I will share that public statement, and then if anybody has questions, they can reach out to me. Yeah, and the very, very, very last thing I would like to add is, while Fairfield Cares is very happy to have received the Drug Free Communities Grant, and it allows us to really be active over the next few years, it is very directed to certain substances. None of our grants allow us really to do work on things like suicide prevention or eating disorders unless we get some free resources. So we are lucky that we will be participating with the Giving Day after Cyber Monday, so Giving Tuesday, and we'll be sending out some information for anybody who would like to throw us a little monetary contribution so we can have some unrestricted funds to work on things that are outside of the scope of the very, very narrowly defined grants that we have. So that was it.
Thanks. Do you have a link for the donations too that you put up?
Yes, I can put that in the chat too.
Okay, great. Okay, yes, Hannah.
Sorry, 2 questions for Riney and Catherine. Catherine, after you talked about Mr. Troutwin, what was the man's name you were talking about after Mr. Troutwin? His presentation sounded interesting and I missed that.
Yeah, Michael DeLeon, DELEON, from Steered Straight.
Okay.
And you could Google him, and he's on YouTube, and he was really terrific.
And he's someone who's willing to speak at the middle school level?
Yes.
Okay, and he's coming back to Fairfield.
As I
Okay,
understand, he's coming to Ward High School in March. And so I can get in touch with Karen Campbell and find out when exactly, and then, be in touch with you, Hannah, and work something out if you're interested, so.
okay. I want to, at the very least, share it with our PTA presidents. Hopefully they would be interested. And then Riney or Catherine, maybe it was you again, the professor from Yale about the eating disorders, and what was the other topic? Sorry.
Social media.
Social media, okay.
Yeah.
Again, I think that would be a really good topic at the middle school level too. I said that I think it should start at the elementary level, but I definitely think that would be a smart one for a middle school level too.
Social media or eating disorders or both?
Both, both,
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Great
And-
feedback.
And guys, all these links and information is in the chat. So if you open up the chat, you'll see Riney. Like I said, I double posted Riney, who's always so good. I should have known you were going to post. But everything's in there.
And just so you know, we meet on the 3rd Wednesday of the month from 8:30 to 10. We do a Zoom. And if you're not on our distribution list, that's really easy to do. Just go to the website, fairfieldct.org/Fairfield Cares, and it's right there. Click here to get on our distribution list. And we're doing in-person meetings as well as on Zoom. So, trying to make it available for anyone and everyone.
Thank you, Kathy. Any other questions for Riney or Kathy? Okay, so I know Jane's been busy paying our insurance and doing our 1099s and paying our Zoom bills. So literally, if it wasn't for Jane, we wouldn't be here tonight. So I'm going to pass over to Jane. Oh, you're on mute, I think. Or you're actually not on mute, but I can't hear you. Can anybody else hear Jane? Let's see. I hear clicks. Are you going to call in on your phone, Jane? Oh. Let's see if I can do that.
Hi, can you hear it now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I'm on my phone and it won't unmute my phone. Okay, so the update is exactly what Steve said. I paid the taxes, we're insured, And anyone who's talking about a Facebook page or any social media needs to really review their insurance status. Because if it's a school-sponsored page and someone posts something uncomfortable, you could be liable. So just an FYI. So as my normal update, we have money, so we can spend it. And just a personal note about the Will to Live presentation. I have a high school senior who's a boy, and he came home and said how impactful this presentation was, and really pushed me to go to the meeting. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it, but I'll watch the video online. But to have teenage boys come home and say that a presentation meant something to them and not make fun of it was great. And one of his teachers actually took time out of their class to go through some of the things that were in the presentation. We took he and some friends to New York City about a week later, and on the train they were talking about it. Now, all of these boys had been impacted by Kevin's suicide. They were all teammates, but just to let you guys know that to touch just even one kid the way this presentation did has to be worth every minute that you spend on these efforts. So thank you. And that's it for the treasurer update.
Thanks, Jane. Thank you very much. Okay, Mary, did you need to add anything? You weren't on the agenda, but I don't know if you wanted to add anything for sustainable Fairfield.
Well, I just wanted to say Fairfield, the town, got a silver status in sustainable CT. So thank you to everyone in the town. And there were a lot of people and a lot of organizations that made that happen. And that means that we are eligible for matching grants. So up to $7,500 if you have something that is a sustainable, and it's very open. They're very flexible. So if you have something that you want to do on a grant basis, and they really like DEI kind of things as well. So if you want to do something that's in any way, if you're very, very creative, if you want to have a filter on a sustainability thing that is on a health basis or a sustainability basis or a DEI basis, that on a maximum, so you don't have to go up this high, but if you can 50-50 match community, get 50% of the community to bring in the money, we can make it happen. So I just want to make that plea that, don't think that you can't get the money out there. So just let your PTAs know that they only have to raise half the money. So talk to me. I'm happy to make it happen. So that's the one really great thing. For 3 years we are in the running for that. So that's the really great thing about that. Also, pollinator pathway, really want to push that. We have an 11-year-old who's at Tomlinson who is ready and raring to do presentations. He's presented to the RTM and to actually not just our Conservation Commission, but also to the Trumbull Conservation Commission. And he's ready to go statewide. He's been noted as the local Lorax. If you put local Lorax in your Google, you'll probably find him. Ryan Romeo. He's really great. I keep being told he's very shy, but he's really amazing. And we're pushing a plant a native tree in your yard. And so we're working with the local nurseries. So we're hoping to push people out there to plant a native tree, because oak trees, sorry, is that me? I'm getting a lot of feedback.
I think it is.
I can't really turn off my volume. So oak trees support 534 moths and butterfly caterpillars. So trees are the most amazing pollinator pathway host plants. So even though people think flowers and low growing flowers and perennials are the best things for the pollinators, it's actually trees that are really the ones that are the best. So we really are pushing that. So that's the other thing that we're really pushing right now, because the fall is the best time to plant a tree. So that's the other thing we're really pushing. So that was my other push, because I'm the chair of the forestry committee. So there you go.
Thanks, Mary. Are there any questions for Mary? Anybody?
Oh, and the other two things is Holland Hill and Mill Hill are composting. They're starting our composting pilots, and they're really excited about doing that. I'm not quite sure how far they're getting on that, but they're really excited about doing that sort of thing. I think there's also some excitement about doing some Bay State textile recycling at their area, and that's a fundraising opportunity for you to do. So if you want to do some fundraising, it's really easy to do. They're really easy to work with. We do that at our transfer station, and I was just looking at the income. It's actually a pretty decent income for the town, but you can do it at your own school, and they're really easy to work with. So if you want to do some fundraising, that's really simple to do. Bay State's a really easy one to work with. Again, feel free to get in touch with me and I can help you work that out. I know they're doing that at Holland Hill. So that's another easy fundraiser for you.
Okay, well, thank you, Mary. Do we have any other questions or any other topics of discussion that we didn't touch on that people? Yes, Christine.
Thanks, Steve. I just wanted to mention, if anybody would like a Board of Ed rep to come to your PTA meeting, we would love to join you. I'll have Jessica Gerber, our board secretary, send something out and we'll get that started. Either we can meet with you in person now that visitors are allowed in the school, or happy to join a Zoom meeting. And just want to thank everybody for all the work and hearing about all these exciting programs. It's good to hear, and thank you for all your efforts for making our school community better. Our kids are lucky to have you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, anything else from anybody? Katie, did you have anything else you wanted to say? Okay, so then thank you very much for coming. It was a very good meeting, very productive, and we will keep you all in the loop of what's going on, if anything, in December. And then we'll also let you know what's going on with our January meeting, which will be another roundtable. We're looking for a nighttime one this time to include the people that weren't able to make it last time. So I'm going to adjourn the meeting at 8:20. Have a second? Nope. Go ahead.
I'll second you. Or just wave.
We just got a woohoo from Mary. I always want to say that.
10 minutes early.
Okay.
Thank
Well,
you guys all.
very
Have
much.
a wonderful holiday.
Happy birthday, Stephen. You guys.
Yeah, happy birthday, Steve.
Thank you
Yeah,
very
happy
much.
birthday. That's right.
In January too.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
Bye. Thanks.
Take care.
Bye.
Good night.